When you've poured hours into a game, chances are you're waiting for some grand conclusion to come of it. All the skills you've learned, all the moves and muscle memory you've acquired, ready to unleash on some final onslaught of evil forces. You've hit that level, you're ready to go, you're psyched up, you've got goddamn Kenny Rogers' Danger Zone on standby, and then that glorious moment deemed worthy to be finished by your own hands has been robbed from you. Whether it's bosses taken down in cutscenes or worse, quick-time events, these games make it clear that you're not the master of your own destiny, just some predetermined avatar on an already written path. So let's talk it all through together. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 9 video games that robbed you of their best moments. Number 9, Fable 2 Sweet Redemption. If someone shot you and threw you out a building as a child, then you miraculously survived, you'd be pretty annoyed, right? Well, that's what happens in Fable 2, and with that drive you set about dedicating your life to righting the wrongs that individual brought not only on you, but the inhabitants of the land, in their quest for power. You're a descendant of a line of heroes, whether you play benevolently or malevolently, tasked with a great mission before you. You've amassed the heroes of strength, skill, and will, survived a few betrayals, and overcome many obstacles, all in your quest to take down Lucian. And then what happens next? Well, if you stand and hear Lucian explain himself, Reaver, having already switched allegiances after betraying you once before, shoots him before you get the chance. What's even more annoying is that Reaver doesn't even seem fazed by it whatsoever, the smug so-and-so. He just did the job that needed doing, which, to be fair, you probably should have done too. But hey, at least you can get your dog back, that's the important bit, right? Number 8, Metal Gear Solid 4, Raiden vs. VAMP. Metal Gear Solid 4 is an absolute landmark title for both the series and for the PS3. It is an excellent game with still great graphics, even if the story was a little loopy at times, and Liquid Ocelot and his finger guns was certainly something, and this scene with Meryl and Johnny shooting each other while proposing is a bit... Look, it is good okay, I played it recently, it still holds up. Anyway, no character has as big a development turnaround as Raiden. Universally lambasted in his first appearance, Hideo Kojima did a full makeover and turned him into a badass cyborg ninja for his return in this finale. Whilst it was a dramatic change, if not a little corny, there's no denying some of the choreography was top-notch. His fight with Vamp in the second act is a testament to that, with some amazing acrobatics and martial arts photographed with energy and aggression. But it's in the ruins of Shadow Moses where players got a little bit irked. After Snake endures another hold-up with the enigmatic vampire, the battle is a bland shoot-off until you whittle his health down before disabling his nanomachines. No, don't ask. And while fitting for Raiden's development to face him one-on-one after this, players felt robbed that the sweet victory was taken from Snake, and also that the big fight happens on half a screen that you spend most of the fight not even looking at. Oh, Kojima, this is classic you. Number 7, Army of Two, killing the final boss in a cutscene. The first Army of Two back in 2008 had so much going for it that it could have really set the bar for cooperative gameplay. A cover-based shooter with a buddy as two wisecracking mercenaries, it had the potential to inject some life into the genre. And whilst it did deliver on the potential with some pretty decent co-op gameplay, it fell for the modern trappings of so many games. That being getting all the best action sequences behind a cutscene. There's nothing more frustrating than putting in all the legwork either by yourself or with a buddy, only to have the game sit you down and say, don't worry pal, we'll take it from here. This is particularly annoying when it comes to the final mission of the game though, when former aide turned traitor Clyde is hunted down and the killing blow ends up being a scripted kick out of a window. That's bad enough, but Army of Two doubles down on that with the final boss battle against Richard Dalton, your former leader. Instead of a climactic fight, he's just blown out the sky in a cutscene. Disappointing indeed. Number 6, Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, a satisfying final fight. Such was the trepidation behind 2014's open-world domination simulator that it didn't even have the Lord of the Rings prefix on the title. Yet when Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor did come out, it was a surprise hit. Batman-esque exploration and combat, an interwoven story to tie in with the One Ring's creation, topped off with a nemesis system unlike anything we'd seen before it, and still to this day. Everything just clicked. Let me tell you, taking out a lieutenant that evaded you a while back offered such a sweet sense of satisfaction that I'm surprised every game since hasn't ripped it off. However, there's always one inherent bit of gristle in an otherwise delicious pork pie, with this one being right on that last bite. You see, you spend the entire game building up Talion and his spirit buddy as this unstoppable force, rising up from his literal death and honing his skills against the Dark Lord's hordes and generals. You become a veritable powerhouse in his quest for revenge. But instead of some grand multi-stage boss fight against a decent threat, what we got was a few button prompts and some lazy QTEs, which would make anyone want to throw themselves straight into Mount Doom. Number 5, Halo 2, an endgame conclusion. Sequel baiting is a double-edged sword. Whilst it can get you excited for a continuation of the film/game/show you've been enjoying, it creates the impatience of having to wait for it. What sucks even more than that though is when you have to wait an entire console generation for that next installment. And yes, that's what Halo 2 did back in 2004 when it continued the runaway success of the first title, getting us all pumped up for a supposedly climactic battle with the Master Chief and the Arbiter's combined forces, with the Chief even dropping that timeless finishing this fight line. We were then given the end credits. And what made it even more of a salt in the wound travesty was the announcement that finishing the fight wouldn't be possible until the Xbox 360 came around, and not even as a launch title no less, culminating in a 3-year wait until we could pick up where we left off. It's one thing making fans fork out for another game, as is most sequel bait, but it was a whole new insult to make them buy a new console for the finale to this trilogy. At least the wait was worth it. Number 4, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time RESHELLED, the Technodrome. The Technodrome level of the original TMNT Turtles in Time was both an awesome level and a great technical feat for the SNES. Battling through multiple levels of Krang's ginormous mobile fortress, it was a pivotal point in the story too. After taking down both Razor and Tokka in one part of the stage, the final stage confrontation against Shredder was amazing. Instead of the standard punch the bad man to death fight, which was saved for later, the SNES version had an ingenious concept: the fourth wall. As you can see in the footage playing here, Shredder is in the foreground targeting the turtles in the background. The only way to damage him was to wound and then catapult a Foot Clan soldier into Shredder's screen. This is what causes the Technodrome to malfunction, sending our heroes hurtling through time, hence the title. So what did RESHELLED do to restore this integral turning point in the adventure? Well, it bloody removed it! Whilst you could argue that RESHELLED was faithful to the original arcade version, it was a shame to remove these newer additions to the gameplay. Number 3, Deus Ex Human Revolution, the literal missing link. Poor Deus Ex Human Revolution. It had a rough time on its launch despite being a damn fine action stealth espionage entry into the stagnant series. While a lot of the criticisms were leveled out by the director's cut version of the game, having a chunk of the mid-game narrative removed and sold as DLC was still a bitter pill for some. The Missing Link DLC saw you play out a portion of the game that would otherwise be glossed over, as hero Adam Jensen has a less than stellar trip from the port of Hengsha to a remote location. Considering it shed more light on who Bell Tower were, as well as hinting more of the Illuminati and their involvement behind a lot of the things in the game, it was a bit rich to leave it out of the main title. Usually DLC is reserved for either endgame or side missions, not what would be considered main game middle ground. Yet while this was remedied for latecomers in the director's cut, it was still insulting to those that had forked out for the base game the first time around. Number 2, Batman Arkham Asylum, the final fight. Largely in part to Batman's no-killing rule, which puts him against the Joker's anarchic nature, we often see the pair in a constant state of battle across time/multiverses and video games. So when Arkham Asylum came out, coincidentally celebrating its 10th anniversary this year, goddamn am I old, fans were expecting a big blowout boss battle between the two. Whilst it has been strongly debated that it's not in Joker's character to give up so readily and overdose on Titan, fans largely agreed that the final fight itself was a bit of a wash. Instead of going toe-to-toe with the new Mad Titan proper, instead we were just given several waves of more goons to take out whilst Joker laps up the spotlight. It could have been so much more, but instead it's basically the exact same fight we've done 500 times previously. An enhanced version of the other Titan fights with the Joker not falling for the usual trappings the others do could have done wonders here. Hell, anything would have been better than just punching a stunned Joker after 3 waves of enemies. Number 1. Red Dead Redemption 2, Arthur's Last Stand. It feels a bit harsh to rag on Red Dead Redemption 2's protagonist, Arthur Morgan. After all, he does succumb to an awful disease that took many more than just his life. Yet whilst Arthur does his best to redeem himself and save John Marston so he can get shot to death further down the line, his final moments are a bit lacking. Not that he should have, blown himself up or anything, it was just a bit of a disappointing denouement. Granted, it can go one of 2 ways. If you've not really inspired to change your ways much and generally carried on like a Red Dead rascal, you'll be shot and left for dead by the treacherous Mika Bell, which is hardly redemptive at all. But even if you have turned over a new leaf, or at least tried to, Arthur manages to stall Bell and Dutch only to die in solitude on a hilltop. Whilst it may seem like he did the right thing, considering all the prior jailbreaks and bank heists and shootouts, it was a bit underwhelming in that resolution department. But hey, maybe that's the whole point. His final moments aren't graceful, and he was never a real hero. So that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Would you have preferred to have seen these great moments done differently, or are you content with what we got in the end? Either way, while you're down there, could you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't, though, I've been Josh. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.